Hello, everybody. My name is Markiplier, and I'm just kidding. Hi, everyone. My name is Isabel. Um, hi, that's me. So today, on the Chosen Few Software livestream, we are coding for a cause once again, and what we're doing is basically promoting awareness for blind and visually impaired users of software by writing some accessibility code for an open source project called Avalonia UI. Hi Linterny, hi MK. Nice to see you both. But yeah, so in the description we have a link to donate to the Wisconsin Council of the Blind and Visually Impaired. And so donations to during this stream to them are highly encouraged. And yeah, without further ado, let's get started. The donation, exactly. Not just donating, you need to donate. All right. So, I have a few things open here in Firefox, which we're going to take a look at first, just to get a handle on what we're working on. And yeah, that's all appearing properly. So I found this article on medium.com that basically looks at how to implement accessibility notes in Android. And that's kind of going to be the focus of this live stream, is using this API in order to make things touch accessible for visually impaired users. And so, as you can see here, we have an example of Explore by Touch in Android. And our goal is to go from a completely inaccessible user interface to something like this that we can essentially see the outlines and see the different descriptions and even have them read aloud if users choose to set that up in their operating system. And how we're going to do this is through the Explore by Touch helper, which is essentially a component in our code that we're going to inherit from and basically implement. So it's like kind of like a scaffolding in which we're going to build the rest of our building. So yeah, without further ado, let's get started. Oh, and I should probably share the stream link somewhere in Discord. Hold on. There we go. Okay, so first off, we're going to go ahead and clone the Avalonia repository. And we have the Avalonia repository open right here in Firefox. So how we're going to do that is we're going to go ahead and copy this URL and paste it over here. And I'm going to go ahead and select a different directory to clone everything to. There we go. The last release was 5 days ago. Yep, it's a very popular project and it gets releases very, very often. So as such, we are even downloading a lot of data, as you can see here with the progress bar. Okay, I think we're back. Are we back? You had to jinx it, Linterney. Gosh darn it. It's 'cause you said something. We can hear. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for pointing that out. All right. So, as I was saying, it's okay, Linterney. I'm just messing with you. So, as I was saying, this is the main entry point for the code that we're going to be writing today. And what that essentially is going to mean is we're basically going to be checking out this main view control property, and we're going to be grabbing that and injecting our code into that. So let's go ahead and open up the code editor, as well as open up that article that we found on Medium. And here we are. So what we want to do here is use this view compat.setAccessibilityDelegate. And we're going to go and put this somewhere in here. So preferably on the onCreate method. No worries, Linterney. We're going to override onCreate. And this is according to Android's own guidelines for performing these kinds of, or for using this code. So let me go ahead and actually pull up that article that I found. Here we are. So, delicate. Hi, Tom. Welcome. Good to see you. So, as we can see, we have in the documentation this same piece of code, set accessibility delegate. And what this is basically going to allow us to do is plug in our code into the rest of the Android operating system and make our app accessible in this way. So I actually don't know. I believe I have to use the view property. Let's see. I'm learning on the fly here, so I might need a sec. Let's see here. So let's go ahead and look at the definition here. That's probably what we want to do. So, what's this? Oh, okay. So we need to find an Android view object in our code here, which I do believe is somewhere around here. Because if we go to Avalonia view, yeah, okay. So what we actually want to do is probably look instead at the Avalonia view class, because this is what has the reference to what we want to use. So if we use view.view, and I don't know if this has a reference to what we want to use. Yeah, so it uses an Android view. I guess one could say that I am a good view. Alright. So if we have view.view.set accessibility delegate, then we should be able to go from there. Yes, I do, Tom, I do. How curious that you should mention. Alright, and then right here, we're gonna go ahead and put our new class. So we're gonna do Avalonia accessibility helper. So then we're gonna go ahead and create that class now and implement it. Alrighty. So then we're gonna go ahead and find explore by touch helper. And I don't know why none of my IntelliSense is working right now. Hold on. I might have to... Okay. I am not going to do that in the middle of a stream, so... So I guess we're going to be raw dogging it, as it were. I can't believe I just said that on stream. So it doesn't have to be exact anyway, because I'm... Oh, Thomas. Oh, Thomas. Alright. So let's go ahead and look back here. Explore by touch helper. There we go. So that is what it's called. Yeah, I suppose the IntelliSense actually would be pretty useful to have, so... Let's go for it. So while we're waiting for that, let's go ahead and look at the API here. So we have this accessibility node info. Let's see. Here we are. So right here we have our Explore by Touch helper, which, as you can see, we can implement it in a way similar to this. And I kind of want to look at which of these methods we can override. Here we are. So we can use these abstract methods and implement them in order to get the results that we want. And wow, that downloaded and installed fast. So I'm glad I actually went for that. All right. That's really annoying. I wonder why that keeps happening with the microphone. It just suddenly cuts out and like dies. Let's see. All right. I'm back. Yeah. Hi. So, as I was kind of saying before the mic dropped out, um, I was hoping to get some of this IntelliSense stuff back, but I wonder if I rebuilt this. Unable to resolve SDK. 1 second. All right. So we have our accessibility helper. So we're going to go ahead and implement that. Using this documentation. And I'm just trying to think the best way to go about this. Because I guess we could start with implementing this one. So we're going to go ahead and do protected override get visible virtual views, and that returns void. Okay. So basically what this is going to do is virtual view IDs. Sorry. I'm thinking while coding while talking. So what this is going to do is basically, for example, for each of these rectangles, it's going to tell Android, the operating system, that this rectangle here is something that we want to represent as an individual thing to a visually impaired user. So in order to do that, we actually want to take an Avalonia view in, and we're going to use a constructor in order to initialize that field. There we go. And then we're going to go ahead and initialize that. There we go. So then with this Avalonia view, we have our content, which we can get as a control. There we go. So then in the control class, I believe there's a method to access the accessibility information that Avalonia gives us, and then we're basically, our code is going to be acting as a plugin between Avalonia, the UI framework, and the rest of the Android code. So we're actually going to go ahead and look here. For that class. And I do think it's in Avalonia controls. Yeah, exactly, Tom. It's like a, like I said, excuse me, like I said, like a plugin of sorts. Let's see. You're so silly. All right. So I do think, let's see. Aha, here it is. Get automation peer. So this is what we want to use in order to figure out where, or what our accessibility information is this code right here. So the question then is, how exactly do we get to that from our Android code? And I believe the answer to that is actually going to be pretty simple. We're just going to go ahead and expose that API. So here it is. Oh my goodness. You have your mind in the gutter all day long, don't you? So we have this API here, and we are going to grab that. And oh my goodness. Let's see. So we're going to grab that. From our control. And essentially, we want to use this automation peer interface in order to extrapolate what we want to give to Android. And that interface is defined here. So in this case, we're probably going to want to use get automation ID. As well as get children. So for each child, and what type are these? Whoops. Okay, these are also automation peers. And we want to default this to an empty collection. And for virtual view IDs, we are simply going to add child.get automation ID .get hash code. And this is going to return a unique identifier consistently for all of our child controls in the root control. So I do actually want to give an example of this happening. So I wonder how I would do that. Let's see. I suppose this article is good enough illustration. So here it is. So what we want to do is get this kind of behavior where even though these rectangles aren't recognized by the operating system as individual little rectangles, we're basically figuring out a way to tell the operating system that that's how we want it to look at it. And so by overriding this method in the Explore by Touch interface, we are basically saying, okay, each of our child controls is one of those rectangles. So moving on to the next thing that we're going to implement, we have populate node for virtual view. Oh, and by the way, for anyone new who's just joined the stream, today we are live streaming raising awareness for blind and visually impaired users of software by working on adding support for accessibility features in an open source UI toolkit. And so in the description, I have linked down below a donation page for the Wisconsin Council of the Blind and Visually Impaired. So I highly encourage you to go and check out that org and what they do, and possibly even donate so that we can kind of create a sort of positive environment and sort of ethos around making accessible software for our visually impaired friends. So I'm sure the org would much appreciate any donations. I'm not officially collaborating with them, but I am, again, highly encouraging it because they're a local org that makes a difference for the people in my life as well, as I also have some visually impaired siblings. So we're going to go ahead and implement this populate node for virtual view. And I believe that's on populate. Yes. And I do suppose we're going to actually have to keep a cache of these nodes. All right. Why do we need a cache for the nodes? That's a good question. So in this function right here, this method, thanks. Really appreciate that. So in this method right here, we're getting a list of virtual view IDs. And we're doing this for each child in the view hierarchy. But the thing is, we don't know these IDs ahead of time. And when we're calling this function, or rather when the operating system is calling this function here to populate the actual info, the problem is that we have a node ID that it's passing in, but we don't know which of those controls that's associated with until this method is called. And so we want to sort of cache these upon calling this so that we can then access this information that we're getting here over here. So that's the reason why we need a cache. So we're going to go ahead and copy and paste this class name. Yeah, exactly. You got it. So then we're going to look at that class to see which of its properties we can set. Whoa, that's a lot of stuff. So we want to find the set methods. There we go. Cool. So, the thing is, I don't know if we would be using the set bounds in window. Oh, thanks, MK. Glad you think so. So set bounds in window. I believe that's what we would be using because it would be relative to the root control. So we're probably going to use this method. So we're first going to get our automation here. And we're going to get that from the peers cache. And then we're going to go ahead and, let's see. We want to get the screen boundaries of that control. So let's see if we have a method here that maps to that. There we go, get bounding rectangle right here. So we're going to call that from our peer instance. And then we're going to do set bounds in window. And there we go. So this is just a really basic implementation of this method. And we're not done with this yet. We're going to do a couple more significant things. And what I mainly want to focus on next is this get name and get help text. Because these are what essentially tell the user of the operating system, okay, this is what this control is and this is how you use it. So I do believe that there is a set name. Let's see. There is not a set name. So instead, we're going to use this set hint text. And we're going to basically just do that by calling the setter, the property setter, which is what this equal sign does. And we're going to get peer.getHelpText. And there we go. And there's probably, this is incomplete because there's probably a few things that we can do to better represent the accessibility info that we're giving to the operating system. For example, with this set input type, these input types are there's a bunch of different kinds. And depending on what our get name method over here gives us, we might be able to give the operating system different types. And so that is probably going to be an important step for a more complete implementation. But for now, what we're going to do is save all of our changes. And we're going to commit them to a new branch. Do I prefer developing for Android or iOS? That's a good question. Historically, I've actually developed mostly for Android and mostly for Android, and have had a presence on the Google Play Store for a very, very long time. But more recently, I've actually invested a lot of time and effort into setting up my own development rig on my computer that basically allows me to, uh, without legitimate Apple hardware, still develop for their platforms, which is super exciting, and it means that a lot of Chosen Few software apps will actually make the jump finally to the App Store. So I'm really excited for the future of Chosen Few software because of that, because I have the chance to make a lot of our more popular mobile applications brand new on that platform. And so that, I think that's a really cool opportunity, and especially with all this accessibility work that we're doing and promoting accessible design, I feel like it's a super important step to take to add support for more platforms on the whole for Chosen Few software. So it's something that has been an initiative of mine for a very long time. But I would say, to bring it back to your question, I prefer Android, but I also think iOS is a very unique platform and is a good ecosystem to integrate with in the future. Alrighty. So back to finishing up our commit. Glad to hear that you agree. Alright, so we're going to make a new branch here. And we're going to call it feature slash, or actually, this is a good place to kind of talk about how to actually contribute code to open source repositories. So what we're going to look for here is the contribution guidelines. So here's their general guidance, and I'm going to go ahead and skim through these and kind of try and figure out what we want to do. So it doesn't seem like they have any guidance on how to name the branch. And so it does say, though, here that features should be discussed with the core team before opening a PR. Please open an issue to discuss the feature before starting work to ensure that the core team are on board. So that's what we're going to actually go ahead and do. So first, before we open a new issue, what we usually want to do is look for someone who has our same or similar issue. And so in this case, the issue that we have is the fact that accessibility features aren't supported on the Android operating system. And so we're going to search for Android accessibility. And it doesn't seem like we have... Actually, we do have something here. And it seems like that's the issue that I saw earlier this month. So this issue is closed. So what we're going to go ahead and do is open a new issue. And I do actually have to sign in. So let's see here. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and type in the new issue in Notepad. And then we're going to copy and paste it later. Let's see. So we're gonna make a new scene. Oh yeah, I have a text editor right in Visual Studio. Why wouldn't I just do it there? Okay. So let's reel it back a bit. So what I'm doing right now is I want to open an issue in the Avalonia repository and basically discuss with them, I want to add this feature to their library. And so what I'm going to do is create a new text document here. Let's see here, text file. There we go. So here's our issue. So let's go ahead and see if they have any guidelines for how they want us to go about opening issues. So it doesn't seem like they have any specific guidance on that. So we're gonna go ahead and freehand it a little. And I just want to double check y'all can hear me still, right? I'm pretty sure that's the case. Just wanted to check in on that because I know that it's been an issue today. All right. Wonderful. Thanks, Tom, for letting me know. So we're going to go ahead and start our issue with a heading. So this is our title of the issue. Hello, Avalonia team. And we're going to go ahead and hit enter here just to keep all this clear and concise. So here's our little issue template. And before we close out the stream for the day, we're going to go ahead and create a new branch on our local copy of the repository. And we're going to call it feature/Android Touch. And there we go. So we're going to go ahead and actually make a fork of their repository. So usually before opening a pull request, I would click this fork button here. And what that would do is create my own copy of the repository that I can then commit my changes to on a new branch. And then open a pull request under the pull request tab and clicking new pull request. And so I'm going to go ahead and commit my changes. Start working on Android Explore by Touch. And I'm going to go ahead and commit that. And there we go. We are done for the day. That is our contribution to the open source repository. Now, there are a few things that I want to mention here before I formally bring this stream to a close. So this live stream was done in part of another video project that I'm working on for the channel, where I'm basically highlighting the need for better accessibility features in open source software. And so this is part of that initiative. And what I really want to bring home here, the point that I really want to drill into your brains, is that accessibility is really important in software. And it's not just for people with disabilities. It's for everyone. When you create accessible features and use accessible design in your software projects, it benefits everyone because it gives people more options on how to use your app in a way that is meaningful and works for them the best. And so when you're thinking about accessibility